Tuesday, the 30th of December, 2025. So I'm here to talk to you about things again. And specifically, is Iran about to experience a revolution to oust the Ayatollah and the IRGC of the Islamic Republic of Iran? Are the people of Iran about to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran's dictatorship, which has been oppressing them since 1979? Well, that question will be answered in time. For now, what we're seeing on the streets of Iran are a growing number of protests of people who are sick and tired of the situation that they're suffering through, with power outages, water shortages, an economy that's in the tank, an economy that's been decreasing its capital liquidity significantly in terms of the money available to the people through the devaluation of their currency, or rather the purchasing power available to the people through the devaluation of their currency. Right now, the people in Iran are clearly very displeased with the way things are being managed. Of course, there are people who are saying, the Mossad is prompting this. The Israelis are giving weapons to the, revolutionaries who want to overthrow the government. Right now, that's all speculation. There is no evidence of that. But even if it's true, no amount of weapons that Israel could possibly siphon into Iran would be nearly enough to actually overthrow the IRGC in and of itself, just by the sheer number of weapons that the IRGC has in the country. Right? They are the leading armed force of Iran. And despite there being obviously an Iranian army or an Iranian army that is separate from the IRGC, like there's an official army and there's the IRGC, the fact is the IRGC, even if it's smaller in number than the actual Iranian army, is far better equipped and trained and supplied. And they have the force majeure of weaponry in the country. So it is not likely that any amount of guns that the people may acquire through whatever means would be enough just by sheer number of guns to overpower the IRGC. However, the sheer number of people in Iran, which is a country of about 90 million people, clearly, if a majority of them are actually against the dictatorship, which is something that dissidents constantly say, like 90% or 80% or whatever number they throw out there, they say, the overwhelming majority of Iranians hate the dictatorship and they're sick and tired of it. Well, maybe this is the time. However, for the past 47 years, we have seen attempts at demonstrations and protests that have basically led to nothing, right? Every time they try to stand up for whatever cause, whether it was the women wearing, taking off their hijabs a couple of years ago, or before that, there's a protest when Iran shut down Twitter, stuff like that, for similar reasons, to black out the news, because the religious police was going around and enforcing the hijab laws on people in some years before, and all kinds of protests we've seen throughout the decades against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Every single time, the demonstrators and the protesters are met with brutal force, really extreme violence, and then the people back down. And on one hand, it's understandable. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're cowards or something. It's not easy to face down the barrel of tanks and guns and helicopters and jet planes and all the things that they have at their disposal. It's not not a very easy thing to do. But on the other hand, if they truly are the overwhelming majority, they could, in theory, overrun the capital, take control of the parliament, take control of the president's residence, take control of the Ayatollah's residences, and even take control of key IRGC headquarters and installations. Again, it would require hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Iranians to do this, kind of at the same time, but it certainly is mathematically possible. It's just a matter of whether or not they actually have the wherewithal to do it and the tenacity to do it. Because, again, like I said many times, for all the protests that we've seen, so far it has amounted to a hill of beans. And by the way, just don't get me wrong here, yeah? I would love nothing more than for the people of Iran to be free and to overthrow their government. But it's a matter for them to do. It's not something that somebody else can do for them. They're not a tiny little island nation of a few 100,000 people or so. It's a massive country with a significant arsenal, despite all of the setbacks that they may have suffered in recent years when fighting Israel. Israel took out long-range missile installations for the most part, and long-range and nuclear facilities. Didn't attack really, all of the IRGC bases that are used to control the population locally. Hello there. Hi there, I see your message. Hey, thank you for saying hello in the comments, and got any questions, keep them coming. By all means, hit the like and subscribe. It's just supposed to say that to encourage you guys to subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to me if you do. Let's get this channel seen and heard by more people. I'd appreciate it. So what is the likelihood? What are the probabilities of the people of Iran actually managing to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran, given the current context that the people are, for the most part, not armed, and they face a very well-armed and fairly well-trained IRGC? Well, on paper, the probabilities are not so great. But again, if, say, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million Iranians actually got up and decided, that's it, we've had enough, there is a decent probability that they could overrun these government institutions and military installations and take control. But again, it's something that they would have to do in a coordinated way, to do it basically all at once, like a one-day overthrow kind of situation. And the probability of that happening, for now, frankly, doesn't look so good. And I hope I'm wrong, yeah? But for now, it's still kind of a pipe dream. Because, if you notice, the Iranian dictatorship has not really come out in force to combat these demonstrators. Not because they fear them. Yeah, I know we've seen the videos of the Iranian police running away from demonstrators. But at the moment, the dictatorship does not yet fear the people enough to leave power willingly. And they have not yet broken out any kind of significant force against these demonstrators. They're basically allowing them to air their anger and even chant Javid Shah, and basically long live the king or the Shah, and to demand the return of the Shah. They're allowing them to do this in order to let them get their anger out. At the same time, they monitor who is protesting. So if the protesters effectively calm down on their own, well, then the Iranian regime will have survived yet another wave of protests. And at the same time, they will have gathered a lot of intelligence on the people who participated in these protests, and sure as day, they will seek revenge on them. What is this? Oh boy, okay. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know. There's some weird things happening on the screen here. What is this? I don't even know what that is. Here we go. So yeah, while it may seem like positive news that the people of Iran are standing up against the Iranian regime, it is yet to be determined, and is still a far cry from what is necessary to get the job done. Let's not get our panties up in a bunch, so to speak. Don't get too excited, and don't get the situation twisted. The Islamic dictatorship is still very powerful compared to the people. They still have the ability to crush protests, and they're going to use whatever means are at their disposal to do just that, right? They're not going to just willingly back down and walk away from power. You got to remember, the Ayatollah regime believes that they are in power forever, and they believe that they're installed there by God, even though they know they were put there by people who, many of them were leftist and academics and intellectuals who just, were sick of the Shah, and they thought that life under the Ayatollah would be better. And boy, were they wrong, because the people that, pushed him into power, pushed the Ayatollah into power, were the very first people that the Ayatollah went and exterminated after he came to power. Because like all dictatorships, that's what they do, right? The moment they come to power, the people that they take out are those that supported them and helped them get into office. This is a classic modus operandi for people who are dictators and for regimes that are authoritarian and dictatorial. On paper, yes, but what? Okay, I see your command here, your message here. On paper, yes. Hang on. On paper, yes, but what? The trend right now, as I can see the videos, there might be a higher chance. I hope they don't calm down. Well, again, it's a matter for the Iranian people to determine if and when they're actually ready to overthrow their dictatorship. Will they actually have the stamina and the tenacity and the perseverance for it? I don't know. We'll have to see. Am I hopeful that they will? Sure. Of course, I'd love them to do that. But it's not an easy thing, right? We're talking about a dictatorship that's been entrenched now for 47 years and has been stockpiling a massive arsenal that they are not afraid to use against their own people, and they've done it on multiple occasions. And they have absolutely no interest in showing mercy, right, when they don't need to, and when they have the opportunity to use force to terrify the people and make them back down. Now, like I said, for now, they have not broken out their big weapons, or any, really. They haven't broken out any forces to really smash the protests, because they know the situation they're in, and they know that letting the people vent their steam is probably a way to let things actually calm down if they allow the protests to go on and they start to fade because people see, well, we're protesting, but nothing's really changing. There's no compromise from the Ayatollahs, right? There's no visual change in the scenery in terms of like what they are protesting against. There's no conditional changes. You just have angry protesters demonstrating against a dictatorship, which has used force countless times against its own people and continues to do so to this very day, executing innocent civilians for all kinds of ridiculous allegations and accusations. You know, women not wearing hijabs get beaten, tortured, raped, murdered in prisons or in police headquarters, police stations, for the crime of not covering their hair. It's just insane. And other charges, you know, against other people, whether it be people who just simply say, I want to live, you know, with the right to free speech, right? I want to not have to be a Muslim. And yes, there are people who are not Muslims in Iran, of course. There are many people who are not Muslims in Iran. And we've seen even an Ayatollah recently address a congregation and saying publicly that something like 2/3 of all the mosques in Iran, like 50,000 out of 75,000 mosques in Iran, have been shut because of lack of attendance. So, still alive, yes. I hope they don't, yes. So yes, it is a very difficult situation, and certainly one that would be nice to see ending with the overthrow of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But for now, you know, whether you like to admit it or not, whether I like to admit it or not, I'm not holding my breath. And I know there's people who think, no, something is happening, and within a month or two, the regime will be gone. Well, it's been 47 years, and people have been saying that to no end. Maybe this time is different, maybe not. But for now, I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, that's going to do it for now, folks. I'll talk to you later. Peace and shalom.